Hi guys, here is F1 and in today's video I am going to present you my thoughts about the 2020 Austrian Grand Prix. But firstly, I would like to ask you to give a like to this episode and subscribe to this channel if you want to receive more content like this. So guys, the 2020 Formula 1 season has finally started with the Austrian Grand Prix, and wow, what a thriller this race was! I just cannot find my words. What a phenomenal way to start this season after such a long wait. This is the kind of racing we are all looking for, with incredible wheel-to-wheel battles, lots of drama and unpredictable results. First of all, many congratulations to the entire Mercedes F1 team, and just hats off to the way they come each year with such a good car and keep bringing astonishing innovations into the sport. I personally have never seen a team as dominant as they are in the entire F1 history, and that isn't just because they have the fastest cars. Mercedes is a well-oiled mechanism, and the fact that they managed to keep their team united and motivated even after so much success makes them the best Formula 1 team on the planet right now. And now, the winner of the 2020 Austrian Grand Prix, Valtteri Bottas. He really drove superbly all weekend long, snatching the pole from Hamilton, who was later handed a 3-place grid drop penalty for ignoring the yellow flags, and managing to cope with the pressure to take the win. And I know some would be tempted to say that this was an easy victory for Bottas, as Mercedes clearly had the fastest car, but in my opinion, Bottas really showed on Sunday that he has what he needs to challenge for the title this year. He got an impeccable start, led every lap, and resisted the constant pressure applied from Hamilton. So yeah, big congratulations for him, and I just hope that he can maintain this level of performance all year long. However, I can't talk the same about Hamilton. Yes, he showed lots of speed during the weekend, but in the end he did two mistakes that prevented him from taking a podium or even the win. The first one, he failed to slow down during the yellow flags in qualifying, and the second one, he spun out Albon while trying to defend from him, which finally earned him a 5-second penalty that pulled him down to 4th. I know that Lewis usually doesn't operate at his full potential in the first 1 or 2 stages of the season, but I think that this year he'll have to be more careful, because not only Bottas seems to have made a big progress from last year, but also Red Bull really showed some impressive pace during the race, and let's not forget that Christian Horner suggested they are expecting a version of DAS of their own, and traditionally Red Bull tend to become faster towards the second half of the season. I think that on race pace they are already on par with Mercedes, as the lap time difference between Bottas and Verstappen was about 0.5 seconds, which represents exactly the lap time difference between the medium tires that Max had and Valtteri's softs. Unfortunately, Red Bull were very unlucky at this first stage of the season, with Verstappen retiring with a gearbox issue on lap 11 and Albon being spun out by Hamilton after an amazing strategy call from the team, and in the end retiring with an engine problem. But I really think that Albon could have won this race, as he was on much fresher tires than both Mercedes cars at the end, so I hope that Red Bull won't have any more reliability issues in the races to come, because they look like they could be a serious threat to Mercedes this year. On P2, sensationally, was Ferrari's Charles Leclerc. Now, Ferrari have been struggling all weekend long, as it was expected. They haven't managed to bring any updates for this first race, and also their power units are simply not quick enough. Being about 1 second slower in qualifying than last year made me seriously think that their last year's engine wasn't legal at all. And now, after the FIA investigation, Ferrari are realizing where they really are, and it's not a nice picture. However, Charles drove an impeccable race with 2 fantastic passes on Norris and Perez that ultimately earned him a well-deserved P2 finish. And frankly, I just do not know where he found that speed towards the end of the race, as he was driving in what probably is now only the 5th fastest car on the grid. By doing so, Leclerc proved to Ferrari once more that he represents their future in Formula 1. However, things didn't work so well for Vettel, who had a miserable weekend, being knocked down in Q2, spinning in the race after contact with Sainz, and in the end only managing to finish P10. He reportedly didn't find the right balance in that Ferrari car, but this doesn't change the fact that he needs to come back a lot stronger and close the gap to Leclerc if he wants to receive any top team offers for next year. On P3 came McLaren's Lando Norris, and I just can't express, guys, how happy I am for him. You could see that the boy was delighted to take this first F1 career podium from the way he jumped on Zak Brown at the end of the race, and generally I am so happy for McLaren. We all know the tough period they've been through between 2014 and 2018, but the progress they've made in the last year is just crazy, and I am so impressed by the rate they are improving at right now. Carlos Sainz was also on it, especially on the second half of the race, finishing P5 and helping McLaren seal an unbelievable second place in the Constructors' Championship after this first race of the season. So yeah, keep your eyes on them, especially next year with Mercedes power units. However, McLaren weren't the only midfield team to impress at the Austrian Grand Prix, as Racing Point showed some serious pace in their pink version of last year's Mercedes all weekend long. In the end, I think that they didn't make the best decision by not pitting Perez, as he found himself struggling on those old tires in the last laps, and he ultimately dropped to P6 and lost any chance of a potential podium finish. Also, reliability hurt them quite a lot, with Stroll retiring about halfway in the race. However, I think that these reliability issues that most of the teams had at this first stage were present especially because of the very high track temperatures and not because the cars are lacking reliability. So I really can't wait to see what Racing Point can do on a luckier day for them. AlphaTauri were revitalized after some poor performance on Friday, and in the end they did a decent job, with Gasly finishing 7th ahead of Ocon, who in my opinion drove a very solid return race for Renault. From what I've seen during the weekend, the gap between Renault, Racing Point, McLaren and even Ferrari was very small, so maybe the honey badger Danny Ric could have brought a lot more points for the French team if he had not retired with mechanical issues. Haas and Alfa Romeo had very poor performance, I think mostly due to the problematic Ferrari engines that they have. Haas failed to finish with any of his drivers, and Alfa secured, I would say, a lucky 9th place with Giovinazzi, after Raikkonen's front right tires scarily flied off. Williams, on the other hand, I think have made a big step forward from last year. In the end, I think that George Russell could have grabbed some points if he had finished the race. However, I'm sure that if Williams keep pushing and they continue to work on their car, more points opportunities will come this year. Now, in the next race, the Austrian Grand Prix, I expect to see Red Bull coming back much stronger after a difficult start of the season and maybe putting some pressure on Mercedes. Also, my driver to watch is Max Verstappen, as he looked very strong this weekend before retiring, and I think he will be very determined to show what he can do. But also, I expect Lewis Hamilton to be extremely fast after what have been a somehow frustrating weekend for him. So guys, please let me know your opinion about this first race of the season in the comments below. Who impressed you the most and who do you think is looking good for the next races? I hope that you enjoyed watching this review, and I'll see you in the next episode.